Welcome into twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. My name is Graham D, and I'm joined by the man in the studio
size of this moth
that has just seen a massive moth called Bib. I'll read Bib.
Good after morning. 20 to 2. It's good timing, this.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. I'll take that. It's definitely been a lot worse. It's been a bit better, but it's been a lot worse. We'll take this. How are we all doing? If you're in the stream, please do feel free to get involved. My name is Graham D, and I've just changed scenes again, so if you listen to this on demand, then you will have just got a big whoosh, but it's fine. I just wanted to see Bibby in the studio. Welcome in! As mentioned, my name is Graham, this is Bib. We are Ice Cream Uploads in true Ice Cream fashion. This is The Scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast, if we do say so ourselves. Anyway, we are live on Twitch, where we go live each and every single weekday, 10 a.m. Ish. 10 a.m. ish. It's now, as we mentioned, like 20 to 2-ish. So yeah, it's ish. We've got any more. It covers it. It's fine. Don't ask any more questions. Anyway, we are live for the next hour or so to bring you our thoughts and our impressions of the biggest, the biggest breast, and the best, and the breaking stories from the world of video games. But it's not just about our thoughts and impressions. We want to hear your thoughts and impressions, and then your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions. That's kind of how the whole thing works. So if you are in the stream, please do feel free to get involved, because there's a lot of people, and this may be you, that do watch and listen to this podcast on demand. So if you are watching on YouTube, hey. If you are listening on Spotify, hey. If you are on the stream, though, please do feel free to get involved, because you are here now. You get to get involved in the conversation. The guys listening and watching on demand do not. So please drop in your thoughts and impressions on behalf of those people, because there is over 200,000 people that have watched and listened to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, tons of places where people get involved. So please do feel free to get involved on behalf of all of those. Anyway, before we jump into anything, a little reminder, !Discord. You can jump in our Discord, not only to interact with us, but interact with iLotus UK, who now resides in the ICU Discord. So please do feel free to jump in. As well as that, !Loot drop. Nice. We do have a loot drop, the surprise. Every month we give away one prize to one subscriber just for supporting the channel. We give a little bit back just to say thank you very much. And as well as that, we throw away other prizes in the loot drop sections of the Discord. Another reason to get involved. Also, while you're at, you might as well check out Insert Coin, GT Omega, Astro, all of the people that help support our channel. We would very, very much appreciate that. But how are we doing, Bib?
Yes. Fantastic, Graham. Never better.
Nice. Oh, I can see 12 and Tito are having some sort of weird off in the chat. It's fine. You're both equally weird. We appreciate you both as little as each other. It's fine. Nice. Nietzsche was in nice and Erne. Nice. Oh, hello. That's how Bibby says it naturally. Clearly. That's what he says.
Yeah, that's obviously how we all say it in Manchester.
Sorry.
JMK
says time. You know it's 10 a.m. Just leave it as that. 12 says moth. There's a massive moth, and it's also called Bibby. Correct. Enix, welcome back, dude. Tito says weird. This is a good start. You know, okay, hun. You know, okay. See you later. Can anyone else smell toast? So yeah, there we go. This is the dudes having a weird off in the chat. You just love to see it. None of us can speak or type today. Yep. I've made 2 cock-ups as well already, so this is great. Fucking hell, it's contagious. Words appear hard to everyone today. The irony of Nietzsche being the one that can communicate properly out of all of us. I know there's a man in a banana boat, and he's the one that manages to get his word. That's if you listen on demand, you've never seen our streams. That is genuinely how Nietzsche speaks. 100%. Not even exaggerated in the slightest. It's literally like I'm a paid impersonator that's spent months crafting the tone, the delivery, everything. That's just Nietzsche, 100%. Nice. Anyway, babe, should we talk about some video game news?
Do you know what, Graham? There is nothing more than on a Thursday afternoon talking about video games, so I think we should, yeah.
Oh, do you know what there actually is, though?
What's that?
There is actually something else, and that is the fact that we've been talking about it for ages, and 12's in. He loves a good intro. He's a big fan. But we're finally at the point where I think our intro and outro is 99% done. We've seen the final proof. We just need a couple of slight tweaks off that, then we should be good to go. Nice. Long old time in progress, but it's got to be badass. A few people have seen some spoilery bits already. It's even better than that. Yeah. So looking forward to it. So yeah, new intro. When we get the new intro in, I mean, 12's always in first thing. He loves a good countdown. So just do what 12 does. Rock up, First thing, job's good. Nice. Nice. The notification came through at 1:32. I got here at 1:40, and the stream started. Bollocks. Bollocks. You were here at 1:32. You were in before the notification came through. God damn. He sat there staring at the screen with his phone, just going, bzz, bzz. It's like, I'm already here, mate. I got it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the fact that analysts suggest a PSVR2 price cut will be needed in order to avoid a complete disaster. Did they need analysts for that? I mean,
I hope they've not paid a lot of people a lot of money to come to this conclusion, by the way.
I mean, the scoop has been free since day one, and we've mentioned it every day that we've spoken about it. It's too expensive. But yeah, GG analysts. Nice. You guys are doing your job. Let's go. Check out like Daniel Ahmad, Z Hugh X, industry analyst, and it's like sources just knowing or yeah. ICU, mate. That's what it is. Anyway, so we'll talk about that. We'll then talk about PlayStation fans wanting a Call of Duty competitor in Resistance. If you've never played Resistance, like Fall of Man, which was it a PS3 or PS2 launch title? I can't remember now.
3, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking 3, but then I'm thinking, oh, maybe that's too far back. But then again, that was like 15 years ago, the PS3 launch, so maybe it's fine. So yeah, Resistance, Fall of Man. PlayStation fans want Resistance series to come back to be a competitor for Call of Duty. Could that work? We'll go through that. We'll talk about EA cutting 6% of its workforce as a part of a restructuring plan. Some 775 staff could be laid off by the company, which is clearly going through hard times because it only makes £76 bajillion a day on FIFA. So well played. And then finally, exclamation mark, FF for a free game. Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd you go fry?
Yeah, I got completely baited with that then.
Okay. Baby, you interested in PSVR 2?
I most certainly am. Any kind of VR, really.
What about spending £500+ on top of your PS5 console?
Not particularly.
Yeah, well, good news-ish, maybe, if disaster is kind of good news. Okay, we'll have a look. Chris Scullion at VGC has the story. Okay, no, it won't. There we go. Open that. Third time, okay. Has the story. It says, analysts suggest a PSVR 2 price cut will be needed to avoid a complete disaster. End quote. Research firm estimates Sony has sold fewer than 300,000 headsets in the first month. That's actually quite a big yikes. So sales of Sony's PSVR 2 headset have started slowly, according to estimates by a research firm. Bloomberg reports that, according to IDC, Sony will likely have sold around 270,000 units by the end of March. IDC's Vice President of Data and Analytics, Francisco Geronimo, told the publication... What a name, Francisco Geronimo.
I was just about to say, what a name.
I mean, over here, Graham, nice... Surname, one syllable, Day. If you're from Yorkshire, you stretch it out to make it sound a bit longer than it is. But over there, Francisco Geronimo. Anyway, okay. He told the publication, quote, I suspect a price cut to the PSVR 2. Nicho is bike seat. Thank you very much, Basin. Appreciate that input. I suspect a price cut on the PSVR 2 will be needed to avoid a complete disaster of their new product. He also explained, consumers around the world are facing rising costs of living, rising interest rates, and increasing layoffs. VR headsets are not top of mind for most consumers under the current economic climate. Bloomberg claimed earlier this year that Sony had previously aimed to ship 2 million PSVR 2 units during the headset's launch quarter and had then halved those projections to just 1 million in the first quarter and 1.5 million between April 2023 and March 2024. Sony denied Bloomberg's previous claims, but so far has reportedly declined to comment on Bloomberg's latest story. The company has yet to publicly state how many PSVR 2 units have been sold since launch. Earlier this month, Sony's Executive Deputy President and Chief Financial Officer Hiroki Totoki said he thinks the headset... How many titles do you need? Sony's Executive Deputy President isn't enough words. Let's add Chief Financial Officer to it as well. Let's go. Anyway, he said that he thinks the headset has a, quote, good chance of outselling the first PSVR headset, which has sold 5 million units, or had sold 5 million units by the end of 2019. PSVR2 launched on February 22nd at a price of £529.99. For this PSVR, players get the PSVR2 headset, the PSVR2 Sense controllers, and stereo headphones. There's also a $570 bundle, which includes a PlayStation Store voucher code for Horizon Call of the Mountain. We'll stop there. Okay, 530 quid to opt into the next generation. According to industry analysts, too much. They need to drop the price or disaster is incoming. Thoughts, babe?
Yeah, it's a bit of a situation this compared to the first one, because you could buy the PSVR 1 without the Move controllers, couldn't you? Because if you already had the Move controllers from your PlayStation 3, I'm sure they was compatible. So you just had to buy the headset and then you get the camera and then you're good to go. But with this, obviously, you have to buy the brand new controllers that come with it, which has obviously boosted the price up quite significantly because they are they are next gen controllers for this VR headset. So it is a very expensive pill to swallow. You would have to be a proper VR enthusiast, I think, to be able to afford this. To actually want this, or have enough disposable income this day and age during the cost of living crisis to be able to, buy this as it stands. Without the launch titles there, I feel like this is going to be a bit of a push, especially because it's not compatible with PlayStation 4 games. As far as that might change, but as it stands, I'm fairly certain as of the 30th of March 2023 at 10 to 2, we don't have any confirmed PlayStation 4 compatibility with this. So the launch games that you're going to be getting with it are going to be, Horizon, that's already in there. I knew the Gran Turismo show is going to be, it is, we've seen footage of it. A new Gran Turismo game is going to be compatible with it too. So there will be some other little indie games that are going to be there as well, but for the same price as your console, if not a little bit more expensive, this is quite a difficult sell.
Yeah, it's very difficult sell. It doesn't surprise me that. Even the title is being generous. Chris Scullion, subtitle says, research firm estimates Sony has sold fewer than 300,000 headsets. It's 10% lower. That's 30,000 lower because it sold 270 units, according to Bloomberg's reporting. 270,000 units by the end of March, when they were hoping to have sold 2 million in a first year. They've sold just over 10% of that. Obviously, they then halved those projections down to 1 million in the first quarter. But if you're going to sell 1 million in a quarter, the majority of those will have to come at launch because that's your pre-orders, that's your early adopters and so on. And they've had their launch, and it's been a damp squib. It genuinely has. Like, the fact that there's very few titles there, like Baby says, there is no backwards compatibility or Game Pass sort of libraries to fall back on. So it's full on back into the realm of VR just being a novelty product, which is a shame because VR will always be a novelty product until it's not. I know that's a stupid statement, but it is. It's, that's that cool thing that you put in your living room and you show your mates and you get a couple of beers, you all have a little bit of a laugh, and then you'll stick it back in the shelf or in a drawer in a box or whatever, and then you go back to playing your Fortnites and your Call of Duties and your Skyrims if you bib. But you get
which platform?
Exactly, all of them at once. But you get a steady stream of content, and then VR becomes not just a novelty piece. It becomes actually this is a serious contender, and that can happen. We saw it with that stupid console that nobody understood called the Nintendo Switch, which is now on course to become the best-selling console of all time. 1-2 Switch. So I stand next to what's basically a smartphone with the tiniest controller in the world. Looks like one of those like fidget spinner pocket things. I sit there and play with that while my mate stands next to me and we're in the garden doing stupid. Nah, you're all right. That's not going to catch on. And here we are. Switch has sold like 76 bajillion units since then. So it can change, but at that price point with no content, not going to happen. It's not. And it's a shame because I really want it to. I really want it to.
I wonder how much the cost price is for this. Like, I'm not saying that they should be selling it at cost price or the recommended retail value is about 570 quid, but like how much of a markup that they're making on this that they could potentially lose for the sake of just getting this in consumers' hands, because I feel like that's what they need at this moment in time. Fair enough, they are giving these away to a lot of massive influencers. I've seen my timeline influx with so many people that are obviously trying to sell this on behalf of PlayStation, and it looks mint. I'm not saying that this game, that the headset or anything looks shit. The games that will eventually come to this platform will be top tier. However, for a very similar price, if not a little bit cheaper, you can buy something that you can actually be compatible with your PC, or the Oculus 2, the Oculus Quest 2, which doesn't need any fucking wires. You can just have it recharge it.
Oculus
Yeah,
doesn't
sorry,
exist,
Meta Quest. Yeah, sorry, Graham.
Honestly,
Yeah,
honestly, people living in 2017 over here.
Welcome to the Scoop, sponsored by Metaverse. But no, having something like that, which is, I think the Meta Quest 2 is at like 300 quid, 350 quid, and the games that are available on it are fucking. You can play the golf club on it.
It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not the Valve Index, that sort of stuff. Clearly not. Different horses, different courses, extremely different payment scales. That's like comparing a Raspberry Pi to a brand new PC specialist build. Other PC brands are available. There is no hashtag ad there, by the way. We know the fucking FTC are cramping it down on people these days. God damn. So, yeah, I mean, if I was going to go for one, in theory, I would want the PSVR2. I know PlayStation games are good. I know that they are made by developers that I recognize. I know that they don't just tap into my Facebook account for the sake of it. I mean, they can do, but they don't always. So I would want a PSVR to be more successful, just as a console-oriented player. But no. Not really. I don't want to pay twice as much just for that privilege when the games aren't there. Because you were saying, I wonder how much this costs. If it's being sold at 530 quid for just a unit, and they're making profit on it, then it'll be a bit less than that. Quite often, you sell hardware at a loss, especially if you're in that early adoption phase. You sell it at a loss so that you can make the money back on software sales. But you can only do that if you have software, and PSVR does not have software. They're giving you Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is pretty much it is the flagship launch title for a PSVR 2, and they're giving you that for 40 quid in a bundle. After you've had that, how do they make their software money back? They don't, so they have to be making a profit on that, and that could be a part of the reason why it's so expensive. They're scared of the fact that they're not going to make it back, so they're making you pay for it in advance, which... It's just not going to work unless you've got a USP, a unique selling point that's going to make it worthwhile. Then people aren't going to be interested. I do love the fact that if I bring the article back up on screen, Bibby's mentioned it already. You get the Sense controllers and stuff with it now. That is great. That is great, but it's pretty basic, really. You get controllers with most things these days, and it's only the fact that the last PSVR used the Move controllers. That wasn't necessarily the plan, by the way. They were looking at how they can get people involved and how they can keep costs and stuff down. It might have even been in High Score or another gaming thingy on Netflix, possibly. I don't know. One of them, and it was looking at an in-depth review of PSVR and so on. And the Move controllers were never intended to be used with PSVR. They just were left over. And they had a shitload of stock, and it was an easy enough thing for them to work into it. So it worked well enough, but you've got this cool headset, and then you've got a massive vibrator with a glowing ball on the end of it. It's like, what's the point in that? It's fucking weird as fuck. It doesn't really give you the sense of being VR-ish. There's no gyroscopic functions on it. There's just a colourful light. Whereas now, the Sense controllers obviously are built for that. So that stuff is cool, but 530 quid? Are you taking the piss? I don't think so. I mean,
I've just seen Jordan's comment there. It says the tech in the PSVR 2 is brilliant. The OLED, which makes the games look crisp and miles better than the Meta Quest, apart from the non-wireless. That's great. But what the fuck am I playing? Like, what's going to keep me coming back to that? The reason why the Nintendo Switch is so popular and everybody pretty much has one at this point as their secondary console is because of the support that they've got with the games. Without the games, that console would never have sold as well as it did. The first-party games on Nintendo Switch are amazing. They will keep any Nintendo platform going. But the third-party support has taken it from that level to the next level, which is obviously why the Wii U failed in the first place, which is probably why the next Nintendo console is going to be another hybrid. I can't imagine them bringing out just a handheld system or just a console system now. They've found the balance between them both. It won't be much more powerful. It might be Steam Deck powerful, but it's not going to be PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 powerful, the next Nintendo console. But the reason why the Meta Quest is doing so well, again, is because it has an outstanding amount of games in their catalog, something that the PlayStation VR1 had towards the end of its life cycle, but we don't have on launch for PlayStation VR2. I wouldn't mind if we actually saw a roadmap of all the games that are going to be coming out for it, because then it might be a little bit more of a pill to digest. You're getting in early.
I think the roadmap, though, is the problem, because there's a lot of comments in the chat. I will start jumping back through, but I did see someone say something about, it might have been Sheep, said any handheld console does well, to be honest. Then I was going to say, well, the PSP and the Vita in the UK would say different. And the PSP did pretty well, to be fair. It could have done a lot better. And the Vita
forever too.
Yeah, and the Vita, though, should have done better. Outside of Japan, it generally, critically, was a bit of a flop. Well, financially. Critically, a lot of people probably liked it. I know Jordan had it as his JRPG machine. But outside of JRPGs, what is it there for? Apart from, like, hacking it so you can legally play your old PSP games on it, naturally.
It was a travesty and an absolute crime that we didn't get third party. But then again, that's the third party support again, isn't it?
Well, it's the first party support, though, because, so talking about roadmap, PlayStation can only give you a roadmap of the first party titles. But if PlayStation aren't going, we are bringing you a brand new, and I know this is third party, but a brand new FIFA. We've signed up EA to bring us a proper dedicated mobile football game. Or they've not produced a God of War for it, or a Spider-Man, or these big games that aren't been making. You got an Uncharted Golden Abyss, which wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't the best Uncharted experience there is out there. Beyond that, you got like things like Assassin's Creed ports, which were terrible. And because PlayStation wasn't headlining and showing people how to do it, other brands were kind of skeptical about getting involved. So when they did release something on the Vita, it was shit. So that didn't sell very well. So nobody else made games for it, or they didn't do it again. And it just dropped off the face of the earth really, really quickly. So yes, handheld consoles can sell well, but doesn't necessarily mean that they will, because there is so much competition in that market. And that competition is this. It's your smartphone. You grab a smartphone, that's it. You've got a handheld console there. Okay, let me
It's also dominated by Chinese handholds as well. Handhelds like the Retro Pocket or the Ambernic RG350, which I actually have. It's fantastic. I'd really want the metal version, but I've got the plastic one. So the Chinese market is dominating the handheld scene, apart from the Nintendo Switch. Like you were talking about the Vita, we've got one Call of Duty game, two Assassin's Creed games, I think, one Football Manager game, maybe 3 FIFA games. We've got two Silent Hill games on there. So there was minor support from third party, but next to none first, like what you said before. Like we got the Killzone game was good on it. Resistance was very good on it. I really enjoyed that. I was one trophy away from platinum it and I couldn't do it. But yeah, first party support on it was just
It dropped off the face of the earth too quickly as well. They were like, of course we're going to keep supporting this game, they said in conferences at E3. And then 2 or 3 years later, just stopped talking about it completely. And it was like, well, you've not killed it, but you've also not feeding it. Therefore, it will die. It will starve to death. And that is what happened with it. Okay, let me jump back up, catch up. Been here since fucking 10, mate. I bet you have, mate. I'm an analyst. I'm an analyst. You wouldn't believe my career is based on typing text accurately, would you? Imposter syndrome. That's me. I have one, but a little bit of buyer's remorse. There is games out for it, but not played it much. I mean, there is games out for it. Is not the same as there is enough games out there for it, because you cannot convince me. I mean, if you're asking me, you've bought it and you're trying to convince yourself that there is games out there for it. Because yes, games exist, but not enough. We went through the whole of the launch thing, and what was it like? It was either 13 or 17 games or something like that. And some of them were tragic, and naturally it covered the full spectrum of games. So for a serious person who's looking at investing in 500 quid's worth of content, you and me aren't serious, because we're sat talking on a video game podcast. We aren't the serious. We're the 10%. But serious people who are out there going, well, I'm thinking about investing in video games. Nice. Okay, there's 2 games in the launch window that I might be interested in. I don't think I will play them. And like you said, you've not played it much. That's because the games aren't demanding your attention. They're not giving you something that VR brings that nothing else really gives you. They're not scratching the itch. They're not pushing gaming to the next level. And if it's not doing that, and it's just like quirkiness, oh great, I can see inside the world. That's novelty, and that's not what VR should be. That's where we're still 25 years ago in that case. If it's still novelty, and we were pushing beyond that with the end of the PSVR and Valve Index and HTC Vive and Vive, where it's called Oculus Rift into Meta Quest and so on. We've progressed to the point where something's moving, something's happening, and the PSVR2 hardware-wise has progressed. It definitely has. But in terms of offering, it has regressed, definitely. Sheep, hello! I'll read. Honestly, I keep thinking the PlayStation tagline for the players seems to be absolute bollocks. Sony don't seem very player-focused. No, yeah, exactly. Like I keep saying as a meme, but I mean it, for the payers. PlayStation is in front. PlayStation was for the players when Xbox was the best brand. And then they lived that to the point where they are the best brand now. And they're doing what Xbox did. They are resting on their laurels a bit. They're not rocking the boat. They're just making as much profit as they can whilst the sun shines, which from a business standpoint makes sense. But from a corporate consumer standpoint, well, I don't want you to be a corporation that you are. So, yeah, I don't feel like... I feel like it's a silly decision. And price adjustments are definitely going to happen. It was like when the PS3 came out, and it was the 3? I think it was the 3 was proper expensive. Yeah, it was. And that's when it had like the 60 gig hard drive plus backwards compatibility, and they started cutting stuff out, and they give you like a 20 gig hard drive version and so on to try and make it cheaper. Because they were just like, fuck it, we'll just put a good price on it and people will buy this shit. And then realized, oh wait, oh no. And then they had to do all sorts of stuff to fight it back. And I feel like those lessons have been forgotten over time. The Vita and PSP was shite, says Ads. I get the sentiment, probably oversimplified, but I do agree with the point, generally. I owned both and liked both at times, to be fair. I don't even know what my phone is playing at anymore. Why the hell would it put Donet? PlayStation Donet. It was the capital D on it. I thought it was a name or something, like a brand name that you was putting out. The tech in PSVR 2 is brilliant. The OLED, etc., makes the games look crisp and miles better than Meta Quest, apart from the non-wireless. I mean, the tech might be great, but the tech is what makes it expensive. They've been trying to push VR for 30 years now. Maybe tech has finally caught up, but I'm still not convinced there's a demand, and pricing like this isn't going to generate that demand. I'm convinced there is a demand. I genuinely am. Every time I play Beat Saber in a proper room that's engineered for it, or if I sit in a racing rig with a VR headset on, immersion. Yeah, definitely believe there is a place for it. Maybe not for everyone, but if it's not for everyone, then you've got 2 ways. You either go down your super expensive route of this is a specialist hobby, or you go down mainstream-ish and make it accessible and try bring in more people. And they are going mainstream, but with a specialist hobby price tag, which won't work for me. There's 2 separate markets that they're going for there. Just wait till 2024, new Nintendo console and VR for it, I believe. Doctor, oi oi! I was lingering your stream earlier on. I had both Lotus and Big Ham streams up, and they both raided, and I came back to my PC and saw that I was watching you twice. So hey, how you doing? I wonder how much a PSVR 2 console costs to actually make and how much profit they make from it. Exactly. Consoles are always made at a loss. Not necessarily, but often, yes. But something like a PSVR 2, I'm not sure. iPhones cost like $380 to make, and they sell them for $1K. Yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff, though, like form factor. An iPhone can fit in your hand. Generally for materials, that will obviously impact on price. Plus, there's a lot more plastic casting on the consoles. The triggers obviously have different bits of technology in terms of the 360 movement and stuff like that. Plus, you've got the 2 OLED screens, plus the audio technologies, the wireless technologies to sync them all up. So I don't doubt that this is probably an expensive piece of kit. Also, phones are made by multiple component manufacturers that have been making those for a long period of time. So Apple can shop around as well, whereas PlayStation won't have the same liberty of that. Plus, Apple will sell what PlayStation has sold in these in one fart. You fart and that's it. 270,000 iPhones have been sold. So that means they've got different economies of scale as well. So whilst it may cost Apple 380 quid to make an iPhone, if that is true, then doesn't mean that Ice Cream Uploads could make an iPhone for 380 quid. It would probably cost us $3,000 to source all the components to build that phone because we're not making so many of them. So that will already be a thing as well.
I thought it'd cost more than 380 quid to make an iPhone, though. Like, even the camera alone in it, I thought would be more expensive than that.
It depends. Like I say, so much economies of scale on it. What it costs to buy that at source in bulk when you're buying 75 million of them or whatever fucking number it is.
I suppose, yeah, when you put it that way. You better get some fucking discount if you're buying that many.
Is VR the gaming equivalent of 3D, with these versions being the VR version of the old gen, the old red/green glasses from the 1950s, where they were meant to be a game changer, but eventually became a novelty for years until they tried again and did slightly better. I don't feel like this is that. I feel like the red and green glasses was someone making a quirky way of doing something that already exists. People, when you use the red and green glasses, you were looking at a magazine and seeing, oh, it looks like I can kind of put my finger behind it, but I can't because it's actually just a flat piece of paper. But you were still looking at the magazine, whereas VR is a different, they're building you a different cognitive space. It's all within your mind, but they are changing the way you're playing. You're not looking at a flat screen holding a controller. You are inside the magazine now. So I believe VR definitely has a difference to that. It's evolved in a suitable enough way. Ready Player One, obviously, is the example we always throw out. People want that. People definitely want that. I know, because I can vouch for me. I am a person, and I would love to play in that sort of immersive haptic suit world. Yes, please. Fucking you, boy. Until I get shit on in PUBG, and then I go, fuck this shit. I've been shot 15 times. So yeah, I mean, I don't feel it's the equivalent of that. No, I feel like it is much better, but not with the way that it's been pigeonholed into an extremely expensive, over the top, and kind of pointless boy toy. It's like office toys, like the people that get those little things on their office desks, or the pins that you put on your face in that little thing to, like, oh look, this is the shape of my hand or whatever. At the moment, it's that executive toys, and it's a shame because it's so much more than that. Hello, Graham and Bibbit. I hope you're both having an excellent day. We weren't, Tix, but now you are here. We definitely are. Now we can. The dock needs more power, a bigger dock with RAM and an extra chip in it. Easily make the Switch more powerful. The text there, like already, there's laptops that turn into tables. Yeah, I mean, the Switch has so much more potential, but does that where we get a Switch 2? And we've already got an OLED Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch coming, so that's not going to happen for 75 years now.
Yeah. 360 quid, I think that's still a very decent price for a Nintendo Switch, especially the OLED version as well, and you're getting Breath of the Wild with it. I think that's a very good price. I mean, bit of pill to swallow if they end up saying in 4 months' time the Switch 2's here, but still 360 quid for that console that's still going extremely strong. I feel that's a very good investment.
Yeah,
if you haven't got one already.
I mean, I personally feel like 199, and this is purely consumer ignorance. I feel like in my head, 19999, 200 quid, be that dollars, pounds, whatever, is a good handheld unit. Should cost 200 quid, and it shouldn't. It definitely should cost more. When I think about it, just the power for a good battery unit and an OLED screen, plus the wireless and or Bluetooth connectivity and all that shit that comes with it, pushes it over 200 quid already. But in my brain, 200 quid. But that's because 350 quid is where consoles should be. So obviously that's wrong. The PS5 and the Xbox Series generation have proven that is wrong, because you can't make something with SSDs, with enough gubbins to have your full-on ray-traced, super fast, ultra-modern gaming experience for 300 quid. You need to spend 500 quid to do that. PCs are costing you $3,000, so it's still a bargain. So I in reality, I should up my expectations, but not when it comes to VR. It probably costs that much. It probably does. But if you want this to be a mainstream gaming product rather than an elite home electronic item, then you can't sell it for 530 quid, 570 quid, and expect people to just opt into it without issue. And that is the reason why in the launch month, they've only sold 270k. It's a lot of numbers for me and you, but no, needs more. Cookies, welcome in. Who's the doggy? Cookies posted a picture of a doggo in the Discord. I need names. Is it a good price? Everyone loves Mario Kart, don't they? not on the PSVR, no. I'd rather have a holodeck than a Ready Player One suit. That way I don't have to pay over the odds for one in my size. Yeah, imagine that, though. I mean, holodeck is just like... How does that work in reality? Because holodeck, you've got to imagine, is all light projection. How do you get hit by light? Like that's where the haptic suit stuff got. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation. We'll save that for another time. Just been emailed by Twitch saying it's Mod Appreciation Day today, so stop abusing me for my typos, you bastards. We love you, Tito.
We do. Number one mod.
Goddamn right. Thing is, these days, phones are so advanced and good quality, they're not replacing, but sort of beating handheld consoles. No, I agree. I do agree. And that's the problem. My phone can't do what a handheld console can for hardware, particularly hardware controls. But it's accessible, costs a shitload, and can do a lot of that. So yeah, phones do change and skew the market. Also, they skew what is profitable. That's why you see things like your Candy Crushes and your other things like that are supremely accessible from mobile devices, skewing mobile gaming to be more of that ilk because it's just easy profit. So it might as well wide mass market appeal. Okay, there is. Let's say I pull that figure that I pulled out of my ass back. Apple sells 75 million phones a year. I don't know what they do. That's 75 million people just this year that is an install base right there that can play on that. Whereas the PSVR, let's use those figures for the PS Vita, sold 270,000. Well, that's a big difference. So anyone that's developing games going, do we make a game that's probably going to cost more and have less support for a much smaller audience on the PS Vita or any mobile console, or do we just do a mobile game again and get 75 million people, get it featured on the top of the App Store and profit? Let's do that. Nice. And that's the same sort of thing that interferes with VR as well. I know VR developers and mobile developers are different developers, but they aren't your mainstream PC developers. They aren't your mainstream console developers. These are developers that are looking for something different. And if developers are going, okay, we want to make a little bit of change from a different vertical in development, do we look at VR where we can get a couple of quid? Or do we look at mobile where we can get every quid ever? Okay, let's go for mobile. Once again, makes sense. Okay, moving ahead. Next bit of news. This one is from the gamer Joshua Robertson. Sticking with PlayStation on this one, it says PlayStation fans want to revive Resistance to try to compete with Call of Duty. PlayStation fans are looking to one of Sony's forgotten shooters for a potential Call of Duty competitor. Interesting. Earlier this month, Microsoft seemed to lose its rag a little in its ongoing arguments with Sony over the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Sony has continually argued that Call of Duty shouldn't be made exclusive to one system as it would drastically affect competition, claiming nothing could replace it. Microsoft argued that Sony should just make its own series. Nice. Sony, says Sean Connery. If it's so worried about losing Call of Duty, which has prompted fans to go digging into the developers' vaults to see if anything could be a potential competitor. In a recent poll conducted on Reset Era, fans were asked which of the three former PlayStation shooters they'd like to see revived to become a true rival to Call of Duty: Killzone, SOCOM, or Resistance. It was the latter that ended coming out on top, as many recalled the good times they had with Resistance 2 and 3 back when Insomniac weren't developing games that featured web slingers or furry animal mascots. Loss Aversion explains that the series' alternate history approach was great and that potential reboot of the franchise from the Insomniac we know today could be a winner, while Strike thinks that the series could be a lot more interesting if it leaned into the full horror, since it already has quite spooky vibes. There's also a lot of calls for remasters of the first three games, something which could be a good way for Sony to get potential interest in a new title without breaking the bank. It starts to go on about Killzone and all the rest there. We'll stop there. Resistance. Did you play them, Bib?
I did.
Did you enjoy them?
I did. I did enjoy them.
Could you see them? Oh, sorry, I was going to say, could you see them beating Call of Duty?
No, nowhere near. There's a reason why those games didn't go as far as Call of Duty currently is. Like, Call of Duty is... It's a beast like no other. It'll go on forever. There's a reason why I mention it all the time. Mag, I thought that was a fantastic multiplayer first-person shooter game. That got one edition. Servers are now closed. You'll never be able to play that again. Resistance, again, I thought that was a fantastic first-person shooter game. Spawned many sequels, including what I mentioned before over on the PS Vita. I thought that game was fantastic. One trophy away from getting the platinum on it, and I fucked that. And Killzone too. That I think had 4 games, including one on the PlayStation Vita. Yeah, there's a reason why they couldn't keep up with it. It's like the reason why Sony are no longer making football games after This Is Football. Like, This Is Football was fantastic for the time. There's a reason it stopped on the PlayStation 2 and never came back out again on PlayStation 3 and beyond. Like, it either becomes too expensive to be able to try and keep up in terms of getting the FIFA Pro license, or to try and get licensing for leagues and things like that. Yeah, it's a shame that we're not going to get any more sequels to those games, but it's just the way in which we are. They don't have. I say they don't have the money. They absolutely have the money to put in. But why would they do that if they know that they haven't got the audience there? I mean, SOCOM. I would love a new SOCOM game. SOCOM was amazing. I feel like with everyone playing online nowadays, that's something that I'm not going to say the game lacked when the games came out on the PlayStation 2 and on the PlayStation 3. I feel like this day and age now, it would do a hell of a lot better than they did back then, with 4 players taking on different operatives, going into different scenarios and things, and having the voice comms. Because the reason SOCOM sold so well on PlayStation 2 is because they had the little integrated chat within the game itself, so you could tell your teammates what to do by giving them certain actions. So you'd press a button, and then you'd be able to say cover left or fire right or go through the door, and the teammates in the game would actually do it, which was fucking revolutionary for the time. It was amazing. But nowadays, it's so easy to be able to find 3 of your mates to come play that game. You wouldn't need those options. But yeah, if those games aren't making a comeback, then I don't think anything will. But I don't think Resistance is the answer to Call of Duty. There is no answer for Call of Duty, because if Battlefield's failing, then there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, David's got a nice Star Trek pun there. Resistance is futile. Lol. Good afternoon, Gag, and welcome in. We're talking about Can Resistance, which was a PS title through PS3, PS4 sort of generations, and then was sunsetted, effectively. Can that compete with Call of Duty? If PlayStation is going to make its own FPS game, can Resistance compete? And I don't think it can either. Not just for the fact that, obviously, Call of Duty has 20 extra years of legacy at a much higher critically and financially acclaimed spectrum than Resistance ever reached, but they were the first to really bring multiplayer. They were the first to properly activate Battle Royale. I'm talking this in like FPS, like boots on the ground shooters, so obviously forgetting Fortnite in there. But in terms of building in season passes and a game that evolves over the years, Warzone, there is nothing really that competes with that. So they're already ahead in those sort of things. PlayStation has to catch up all of that. But, and maybe we were talking about it before we went live, I mentioned the fact that it's got alien faces in it. Mm-hmm. Boots on the ground has always outperformed in that sort of sense. When it comes to first-person shooters, people like more IRL grounding. And that could be back to World War I and II, or through modern day. But even with Call of Duty showing that your advanced infinite whatever warfares in space with your exosuits didn't sell as well. One of the most downvoted on videos on YouTube was Infinite Warfare, or whichever one it was, where you got Call of Duty Modern Warfare remastered with it. People bought it for that, but didn't want the actual main game because it was super weird fucking space shit. Give me proper stuff. So that will always be a difficult. So out of those 3 games, Killzone was supposed to be the big game, and it didn't really work. Killzone Shadowfall, launch title for the PS4, didn't really do anything. People were like, oh, great, yeah, great. When there's not a lot of games around, you kind of have to succeed. which is what happened with the Resistance Fall of Man. Killzone Shadowfall should have done that the next generation, but it didn't even do it then. So Killzone, no. Resistance, no. Out of those, SOCOM, I would probably say that for me is the one that is more likely to do it because it has that militaristic shooter. But the difference there, again, is characters. Is it all just based around Navy SEALs? Like, if that is the case, then you need to make it a little bit more open. One of the most beautiful and probably accidental maybe things that Call of Duty did was had the SAS and the Marines in it. So you got UK voices or European voices, let's put it that way, and American voices. That were those were the two big markets that they were aiming at. And they fed to both of those markets, but also created characters that people can get behind. Everyone fucking loves Ghost and Assault McTavish and things like that because they're things you can get behind. They're people you recognise. And that's something PlayStation can do. Building characters and storyline and stuff that transcends that one video game that they're in. But doing that whilst creating a brand new shooter that offers some form of USP that's not just, oh, look, we've got shooters too. Why would I go and play SOCOM or Resistance or Killzone when I've got Call of Duty here just because they want me to play there? All of my friends and all of my history is here. So yeah. On paper, I don't think punch for punch Resistance can compete with Call of Duty. I do not. I also don't think anything really can compete with Call of Duty. So that's a completely different thing. But nah.
Which leads us back into Activision Microsoft merger. That's essentially what this all boils down to as well, isn't it? They're obviously trying to find things that are going to compete, which Resistance is futile, as your brother said.
Yeah, I feel like this is rose-tinted glasses. This is fans looking at it and going, oh, do you know what, Resistance? I'd love a new Resistance. That can compete with Call of Duty. Okay, what you said is two separate things. Would you love a new Resistance? Yes. Would a few people like a new Resistance, or more than a few? Yes. Can it compete with Call of Duty? Not a chance. Not a chance. I've played the Resistance games and liked them. Played through co-op with my mate Carl way back in the day. Played through all 1 and 2. We didn't play 3. But even that, like, we enjoyed them, but 2 was okay compared to number 1. So I didn't even bother with 3. So yeah, I'd like a new one. That'd be nice. I may even buy it if I don't get it for free. But would I go out of my way to properly sink hours into it? Maybe not. Maybe not. Call of Duty even struggles with that right now to an extent. I've played every Call of Duty recently, but have I played many hours in them? Not as many as I used to do. So Resistance has already an uphill battle in that for me, but for others, nah, it's just not a fight it's going to win. So PlayStation fans,
my PS Vita one if you want. Gonna play through that.
I'm okay, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Let me just check. Oh no, is that the time looking at my bracelets? No. Nice. Okay, we don't believe Resistance can compete with Call of Duty. I appreciate the passion of PlayStation fans, though, wanting it to come back. Maybe that may even move needles somewhere and get places going, do you know what, maybe we can make some shooters. Maybe we can't compete with Call of Duty, but maybe we can make some more of those games. So we'll see. Tell you what you need to make those games, though, a lot of staff, which is what EA has. But apparently, maybe not as much going forward. Tom Ivan at VGC has this story. It says EA is looking at cutting 6% of its workforce as part of a restructuring plan. Feels like every week we get one of these stories of major redundancies. But now some 775 staff could be laid off by the company. EA has announced plans to cut 6% of its workforce as part of a restructuring plan. In a filing with the US Securities and Exchange Commission on Wednesday, the company said it expects to incur up to $200 million in charges in connection with the move. These consist of approximately $65 million to $70 million in charges related to intellectual property impairment, approximately $55 million to $65 million related to employee severance and employee-related costs, approximately $45 to $55 million associated with office space reductions, and approximately $5 to $10 million of other charges, including contract cancellations. As noted by GI.biz, the layoffs could impact around 775 employees based on EA's last annual report, which it said employed 12,900 people globally as of March 2022. EA CEO Andrew Wilson reportedly told the staff the company, quote, is operating from a position of strength, end quote, that will see it leverage its biggest brands to build games with large communities, engage these players with social and creative tools, and deliver, quote, blockbuster interactive storytelling. He said, Quote, as we drive for greater focus across our portfolio, we are moving away from projects that do not contribute to our strategy, reviewing our real estate footprint and restructuring some of our teams. Wilson added, this is the most difficult part and we are working through the process with the utmost care and respect. Where we can, we are providing opportunities for our colleagues to transition onto other projects. Where that's not possible, we are providing severance pay and additional benefits such as healthcare and career transition services, end quote. EA begun informing staff of the layoffs earlier this year and said the restructuring should be completed by the end of September. In February, the company reportedly laid off 200 QA testers dedicated to Apex Legends. We did cover that story. That was the mobile developer. But we'll put a pin in that one there. Another 775 people, bringing it to just short of 1,000 people from February to now being laid off by EA. Should be wrapped up by the end of September, though. But 1,000-ish jobs almost in total. Thoughts, babe?
Yeah, this is just, you can tell it's definitely financial end of year, and they're just trying to cut as many jobs as they can to try and save as much money. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of those ended up getting taken back on again when the budgets have been renewed in April and beyond. But the video games space itself has never been bigger in terms of games that are out there, in terms of heavily invested video game companies, as well as the game values itself and the money that these companies are making. Like, EA makes money hand over fist, and they still can't afford to be able to keep some staff on. Like, it's baffling that there's now going to be 700 people, or it's over 700 people trying to fight for the jobs in the same space. Like, there's going to be a lot of these people that probably will never move into another video game job again. They're going to have to, digital marketers might have to go and work in digital marketing in a completely different sector just to be able to try and make ends meet, and not working in an industry that they know inside out because of the lack of jobs that might be available in this sector due to all the redundancies that's happening. It's hella shit, and hopefully they'll end up finding their feet sometime soon. But I don't know if, with so many jobs going at the moment in this space, are these companies not managing themselves well enough? Because a lot of these companies are making so much money, and we report the financials of a lot of these companies throughout the year, but then they're still making redundancies at the same time. Like, are they being mismanaged financially? Have they have too many expectations as to how much money that they're going to be making from the particular franchise or IP? Like, I've got so many questions that are going to be left unanswered, because no one's going to come out from any of these companies, especially to someone like us, and say this is the reason why. I mean, these people who have lost their jobs are probably under NDA as well, and they'll never be able to tell you the reasons as to why, or they might not know themselves. So I don't know how we can sort this out long term, because it feels like these like everyone who works in this industry is contracted to, like, you've got 12 months, you know, nothing beyond that. Your future isn't secure. You've got 12 to 18 months to work on this project before we kick you. That isn't the contract that's being put underneath, and they're as far as these people are aware, they're going into full-time employment. But it just doesn't feel like anybody's job in this sector is secure at this moment in time, and it must be frightening for people who are on the breadline or are starting to get out of the cost of living crisis, or just trying to make some money to secure themselves with the boiler breaks. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a really shit situation to be in at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 people being cut is a huge drop off. The interesting things, though, is like the fact that it breaks down the figures of what that impacts, what that is, and it says 65 to 70 million is in charges related to intellectual property impairment. Like, that kind of passed me by until I read the comments below this article. This is the VGC article, by the way, and someone in the comment has put, this is someone called Blog Regames. Nice. Wait a minute. These consist of approximately $65 to $70 million in charges related to intellectual property impairment. This is more than actual employee-related costs. If I understand this correctly, these are costs associated with licensing IP. They're not really going to take advantage of after the restructuring, right? Which is a good point. Is that basically saying that because they're losing 775 staff, they're not going to be able to work on the next games going forward? So actually, we're going to lose profit. So we're losing out on this because we can't make more games with your time. It's like, no, you don't lose out on this. I'm the one that's losing out. You've chosen this. I didn't choose this. So it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one to have in there. But either way, 200 million in charges to EA. It's a chunk of change. But it churns. We know companies like EA churn cash, and it's business. I know it is. People have to refine. Shareholders expect more. Workflows can be improved, and all that jazz that does lead to this. But it's end of the day, it's a shit situation where nearly 1,000 people are going to be jobless within a 6-month period, and it's not the only one. EA, as we mentioned the other day, Microsoft, Hasbro, and a bunch of other companies all doing the same sort of thing. Lots and lots of people have lost their jobs. Tick says everyone's unemployed, but there are loads of jobs about. But there aren't in certain industries. Like Bibi says, the key thing is like having the industry that you want. If you've worked to build yourself up to be communications marketing in video games, and EA lay you off through no fault of your own just because you are one of the numbers, then you got to get a job at Twitch. But Twitch have just laid off 20% of their workforce, force or whatever it was. Okay, well, I'll get a job at. There's a Apex Legends mobile developer. Oh no, that's EA as well. Okay, that's just been shut down. Okay, Microsoft. Nope, they've laid off a ton of people. Oh, big fan of PUBG. Nope, they've laid off their community teams in parts of their community. It's like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's at this point it is difficult. If you are in certain sectors, particular sectors that may have churned profits in lockdown and now aren't churning the same profits, it does get a little bit more difficult because brands and particularly shareholders got used to it being cushy, a bit cushy, should I say, not cushy, and now it's not. So it's a shame. It's always terrible.
Especially for EA as well. Like, does it say it's evading my brain power at this moment in time? But did it say where it was being cut from? Because it can't be EA. Well, it can't be EA Sports. It has to be something else. Because it just says Electronic Arts, doesn't it? And then they've used FIFA in the picture.
I imagine it's America just because they've put Electronic Arts is cutting 6% of its workforce. But then it also mentions in a filing with the US Securities and Exchange Commission. So it doesn't mention anything about UK, EU, or any other regulators. So that makes me feel like they are closing some of their operations in the US, which wouldn't be surprising because I imagine that's where the majority of their staff are. Naturally, there is EA UK and stuff like that in Guildford and so on like that. But from the way I read this, that's 700 jobs from the NA. The only other thing that may suggest otherwise, but it's just elaboration, is as noted by GI.biz, the layoffs could impact around 775 employees based on EA's last annual report, which said it employed 12,900 people globally. But it doesn't say that the layoffs are global, just that it employs people globally. So yeah,
that's it. Because like you said, like we mentioned before, with it being EA, if it was EA Sports and FIFA making money over fist, I'm fairly certain their team would be secure, but the likes of Battlefield, for instance, or a new Dragon Age game that people are working on, they might not need as many staff as they wanted to originally, and it might not be making as much money as Battlefield definitely isn't making as much money as it should be doing, or it used to do. So you can kind of understand they don't need as many people working on that game as they used to do. It's a shame that they can't just move them across. Like, I understand that someone working on Battlefield who does really good 3D renders of guns and how they work probably isn't just a straightforward, okay, well, you're working on FIFA now instead. Like, I imagine they might be using a completely different engine. But then again, it'd be using Frostbite, so maybe not. Maybe just be talking absolute shit. I know nothing about this, which is why it's all speculation in my head, and I'm just saying it out. Rather than just moving departments, they're just being let go altogether. So they're not utilizing skills across the board, in my opinion. But I don't know all the facts. We're just trying to read in between the lines or just dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. David says some companies are just bloated though. Look at Google. 40 people from their layoffs were masseuses and beauty technicians. Yeah, but that doesn't extrapolate. Google is a very, very different beast from most companies. EA is a big company. Google is a big company. Not big, but out of the big companies, that is the big one. It's one of them. There's a very, very big difference between EA and a Google. I have been into Google's London offices, which is probably not their biggest and most elaborate, and Like I've spoke about it on the show before. The fact that they calculate queuing times to make sure people queue a little bit to build up social relationships, full on Big Brother level stuff. But whilst I was there, they had like just a barista, like a Starbucks level dude with his own coffee cart in the corner. And you go up and it's like, oh, fuck, do you do flat whites? Yeah, I'll take a flat white. How much is it? Oh, no, it don't cost anything. You just have it. There you go. Nice. Free? What? Mm. And that's the sort of stuff that your average Joe will be like, clearly they're going to get rid of that. But it's not about that. It's that, yeah, that might be a cost having that there. But that means that people are happier because they can just get a brew at work. And also, this is a big old fuck-off building in London where there is lots of big fuck-off buildings. So not only do I have to get to a lift, which is actually a bit more difficult than you expect because there's 10,000 people in this building that all want to get up and down in the lifts as well. So there's queues to get up and down in the lifts. So I've got a queue to go down all the way to street level, then mooch 3 streets down to go to the Starbucks, which has already got a queue because loads of other people are working there as well. So I've got a queue for that and then come all the way back and then fight my way back up in the lifts again to sit down at my desk and my coffee's gone cold and I've spilt it all over myself because I had to run over the road to make sure I got it, blah, blah. Just having someone out there saves you 25 minutes of your employees' time, makes them a bit happier, saves them a bit of cash. They work hard, the jobs are good and work is good. Suddenly, you do that for 300 people on that might visit that dude over the course of the day. Profitability pays for itself. So I don't disagree that 40 masseuses and stuff like that and technician, you said nail technicians? Have lost it now. Beauty technicians. Yeah, probably a little bit overkill. And that is just being a bit frivolous with the spending. And most people would fucking love to have a masseuse at their workplace. I actually worked in AO.com's building and they had a masseuse that came in once a month. You had to pay for it out of your own money, but if you wanted a massage, there was one of the side rooms, they set up a massage table, never used it, but it was there for people to do it if they want. You have to pay for the massage yourself, but it was there as an option. Shark! Welcome in, thank you very much for the raid, dude. I appreciate that very much.
I fucking shit myself.
What, for me shouting shark at you?
Proper caught me off guard because it's like not monotone, but just like one, decibel continuously.
And then shark!
And it probably always shits me up.
Nice. So yeah, masseuses, beauty technicians, Google laying 40 of those off, that makes sense. But the fact that they've got them also makes sense. Other companies, not so much. But yeah, I don't doubt that EA probably has some frivolous expenditure, but probably not that sort of stuff. Where did I get to? We have the Tetris movie to go and watch, and then we're all unemployed. Yay! Ratatat! Welcome in, Lotus. As we drive greater focus across our portfolio, we are moving away from projects that do not contribute to our strategy, reviewing our real estate footprint and restructuring some of its teams. These decisions are expected to impact approximately 6% of our company's workforce. It's the real estate they want to save on. Yeah, exactly. That's the key thing as well, is you lose that many members of staff, you close an office. You close an office, you either own that office and you can sell it for profit, or more often, if you're a big business in a city centre, you're usually renting property. So you're paying city rates to house multiple members of staff, which are all using gas, electricity, tea, coffee, whatever, snacks in it, a masseuse, a beauty technician, or whatever. So all of those costs will be a big thing too. Looking forward to the new Dragon Age game. They better not cancel it or reduce staff on it. Not. I used to work for a university where they used to bring in masseuses on a Friday. It was great. Yeah, I never used it because I couldn't afford it back then. It was only like early days of work for me. So yeah, it was long before working in the video games industry. So I didn't have the ability, but it was there if people want it. All good, buddy. I love you. Shark, while you're still here, we're talking about you yesterday. What did your Twitch name used to be? I can't remember. All I can remember is Ads Plays, and it's clearly not Ads Plays. Was it Mad Ad? Is that what it was? Mad Ad? Maybe that's why my brain's going Ads Plays. I don't know. If anyone dropping in from Shark Stream does know, Mad Ad, that's it. Yeah, I figured it out. Got there. Nice. Cheers, mate. Okay, we'll move ahead. So EA is removing 6% of its workforce. Milo, what are you standing over there for? Just looking out the door. You little weirdo. So yeah, EA is moving 6% of its workforce, which is bad news. However, we do have some good news. It's free game Thursday-ish. Tom Phillips.
Me again then.
Nah, nearly. Tom Phillips at Eurogamer has this story. It says PlayStation Plus monthly games for April. Stop licking my face. Have been announced, including Sackboy: A Big Adventure. That's Bivio talking to there, by the way, not Milo.
I was just about to say.
Oh yeah, you might not have known that Milo was here. Milo came mooching in a few minutes ago, so you.
I was like, hi Danielle.
No. You give me. Oh, he's giving me kisses. Who's a beautiful boy? Not that you guys can see it, just have to take my word for it. So Sackboy, a big adventure, headlines the PlayStation Plus games list for April, available to Essential, Extra, and Premium tier subscribers. Also on the list are Meet Your Maker and Trails of Iron, all available to download for PS4 and PS5 from Tuesday the 4th of April until Monday the 1st of May. If you're yet to give it a go, I'm being kissed. Cheers, dog. Thank you very much for that. I was trying to turn the camera off, but he heard me clicking the mouse, and now he's turning it around.
Click, click.
Cheers, Milo. That's very nice. Okay, if you're yet to give it a go, Sackboy Big Adventure is the multiplayer game spin-off for Little Big Planet, which launched back in November 2020. That's available now, plus some other stuff. So make sure you go grab your free games and get your current free games as well. So new games hit on Tuesday, including, obviously Sackboy Big Adventure, Meet Your Maker, and Tales of Iron. They come on Tuesday. Which are the ones leaving? I'm trying to find that one. It usually has
Battlefield, I think, is one of them. Battlefield 2042. Can't remember what the other two are.
Oh, they've not even put them in this time.
Well.
They usually put them in. They're not in there. But yeah, new games on Tuesday. Grab them. Make sure you grab your free ones for now before then, though. Nice. Sackboy Big Adventure. Tickle your fancy bit?
Yes, it does. I don't mind.
A bit
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind the old Sackboys. So yeah, I haven't played it. So I probably won't be playing it anytime soon because there's a million other games that are in this way. But yeah, it's always nice to have in the library, especially because my nephews will be able to come around and play it, so they'll be very happy.
Nice. 3 scoops of your recommendation, please. Well, I recommend that you sub to us on YouTube. That's free. I recommend you follow us on Twitter. That's free. Also, feel free to follow on Twitch. That is also free. And if you've an extra one, a 4th scoop, is if you've got a Prime subscription, you can sub to us for free too. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, we're going to wrap things up there. Thank you, everyone, for dropping in today's show. Brexit, says Lotus. Yeah, exactly. We covered a few stories today. Obviously, we've just told you what your free games are for April on PS Plus. We also, sticking with PlayStation, spoke about the PSVR2 and told you that it was mega expensive. And the fact that PlayStation fans want to see Resistance being revived, but it's not really a Call of Duty competitor. And then the other story that was a negative one is that EA is cutting 6% of its workforce as part of a restructuring plan, which it's not the greatest news. Oh, actually, I've just seen Cookies in the chat. I did see a comment from Cookies that I meant to jump back to, because I always love seeing stuff like this. Is love the podcast. As an older guy who started again 4 years ago after a 20-year hiatus, this is a great way to learn about other games and their history, as I only played PUBG and Fall Guys over the last 4 years. Thank you so much, gents. Genuinely appreciate comments like that, by the way, because we don't get paid for this. Obviously, we earn revenue through the stream, through subs and bits and donos and stuff like that. But that big old TV behind Bibby didn't pay for itself, so we don't take we don't do this and get paid for this. We have a day job that we do around this, which is why the streams go live-ish, because we have to fit the streams in around proper work, so we don't get paid for this. So seeing comments like that, we genuinely appreciate that, because yeah, this is our time that we put together for you guys, and yeah, it's nice to see that it's worth it for some people. So you are absolutely welcome. Thank you very much. Anyway, Mr. Bibb, we're going to wrap things up. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of The Scoop. But is there anything you want to add before that? Bits in it!
Yes, thank you very much to each and every one of you that have joined us for today's episode of The Scoop. There is only one episode. We've both been Sean Connery.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Stop.
There's only one episode left, which is tomorrow. So if you want to help shape that, there is 2 ways that you can do so. First of all, find us on social media. This is at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. Or alternatively, get involved with our Discord. If you're watching this or listening to it on any of our on-demand services, go into the description below. All the links that you require will be listed there. But all we need from you is URL plus your thoughts and impressions. We will then give you our thoughts and impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time tomorrow? Mr. Graham Day.
Maybe 10 a.m.-ish?
Mish.
Yeah. We'll be back 10 a.m.-ish tomorrow with the final scoop of the week. And then we get the weekend where we'll play some PUBG. And is it more Resi this weekend, Bib?
Yes, it is. Oh, no. We're not going to be here on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, yeah, no, fuck. Yeah, fuck. Completely forgot about that.
We ain't going to be here.
Balls. I've already been making plans for the weekend. Yeah, like, not as in making plans specifically, but like, yeah, I'll see you on the weekend for games. So, yeah, there will be no chasing crates this weekend. Just remembered, because Bibby just told me, I didn't even remember, that we are actually in London. We've got a work event this weekend. So yeah, we're not going to be around. We're going to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series in London because we're hardcore and we're absolute biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans that's ever been Yu-Gi-Oh! In the world. So yeah.
Is it ticketed?
No, the YCS is free to get into to watch as a spectator. But if you want to compete, you have to pay your entry then. So you pay to get into it. So anyone can watch, but it costs to get in. So if you're near, on a weekend, what's your name? Lake? No. So yeah, if you're near the XL Centre London, which is like London's Docklands area, if you're near the XL, then do feel free to drop in. We'll be at YCS in London from Saturday afternoon-ish till Sunday until close-ish. So yeah, do drop in. Nice. Also, if something that you want to do while we're off stream, check that tweet out. Bibby posted a tweet from ICU in response to a Spotify podcaster's tweet earlier on. Which of our setups do you prefer? We're obviously at home now. Well, I am. Bibby's in the studio. But what setup do you prefer for us doing the scoop? Do you prefer the lower one, the cushiony one, the new Studio B as we call it? We need to give it a proper name. Or do you prefer Studio A, the one, the desk where Bibby's sat over there? Just let us know in the responses. A bunch of people have already let us know their thoughts. Let us know too. Nice. Nice. Okay, we're going to disappear. We'll drop a raid on one of our friends, so stick around for that. But I've given my non-helpful advice. I saw it. I saw it. Yeah. I think it's one of them was basically the gist of it. Let me see. Actually, I'll tell you what he actually said. He said, the one on the left is more intimate, and I like the chill vibe, but the other one has a more cleaner podcaster vibe. Glad I couldn't be of any help at all.
Classic.
Nice. But yeah, do feel free to respond with your responses, because naturally that's what you respond with. Respond with a response. Nice. Okay, we're going to disappear. Stick around for the raid. Until next time, have yourselves a beautiful day, and stay frosty.
And stay frosty.